friends, and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things Fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hance. Each week I visit with a Fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week I'm visiting with Kristin McCarthy Parker of Recent Cutbacks. From the creators of smash hits Hold On to Your Butts and Fly You Fools comes a holiday parody for everyone's inner child. Keep the change, you filthy animals. Kevin! Critically acclaimed company Recent Cutbacks returns to the Fringe with a new UK premiere. 4 actors and a Foley artist perform a live shot-for-shot parody of the greatest Christmas movie of all time. Comedy, puppetry, live projections, and Foley combine to create an astonishing, hilarious, and handmade homage to the 90s classic about leaving your kid alone at home.
In New York, it's a pretty hard split between this is theater for adults and theater for young audiences. And in the UK, it was just so much more, especially at Fringe, it was so much more fluid, where we had an 8 and up age guideline, but people were bringing in kids as young as 5, and they were loving it, and they were great. And we started to realize, there's a real, because like I said, our work is accessible. It's also it's rated G, we don't necessarily make it for children, but we don't curse. Unless we're doing a late night show that's for adults only, we don't curse. It's totally family friendly. So we started to lean into that audience a little bit more.
Kristin McCarthy Parker is a New York-based director and producer whose work has been seen across the US, the UK, and Australia. Co-founder, director, and producer of Recent Cutbacks, whose Jurassic Park parody, Hold On to Your Butts, recently won the International Fringe Encore Series at Soho Playhouse Off-Broadway. Director of the off-Broadway hit Puffs, or 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and its live capture. An avid developer of new work, she has directed for Rattlestick Playwrights Theater, Ensemble Studio Theater, Powerhouse Theater, New George's, All for One, the Brick Exponential Festival, PEN America's Prison Writing Program, Ma Yi, Columbia University, the University of Florida, and many others. Kristin, welcome to What the Fringe.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I know. I've been so excited to have you on. So last year, you guys did a little pitch for World Fringe Day. So that's kind of how I learned about you. And then I was able to see Fly You Fools at the Edinburgh Fringe last year, fell in love, and then nominated you guys, you specifically, for a directing award for our end of the year awards here at What the Fringe. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Kristin. I'm a big fan of Recent Cutbacks. And then we got to hang out in Adelaide. So it's been exciting to get to know you, and I'm really thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel exactly the same, and I have fond memories of our Adelaide hangs.
I know, it was so good. It's you get to pop in and out at Fringe bars and all that stuff. And anyway, it's good. And got to see a different side of you. I didn't get to see the show. I don't remember why it didn't match up with my schedule, but you were doing a pantomime show with Double Take. We'll talk a little bit about that because that's your performer side. You don't just direct, you perform. So tell me a little bit about that company.
Yeah. So Broken Box Mime, we're based out of New York City. It's an ensemble based company. I think I might get the year wrong, but I want to say it's in its 14th year. And so we do contemporary mime performances that are igniting the audience's imagination. So this is a classic mime where there's no props, there's no set. It's just us, our bodies, our faces. We really try to push the boundary of what kind of storytelling you can do with mime. So we use a lot of cinematic technique in our work. It's just really inspirational, and it kind of runs the gamut from comedy to heartbreaking to we've done sci-fi pieces. But it's a company that I've been a member of since 2021. And I love it. I have a background in physical theater, which I was doing a lot more of that before I kind of shifted to directing, but I kind of picked back up that side of my practice with Broken Box, sort of in the middle of the pandemic when things were a little bit slower, and I was I got to find something more real to latch onto here. So that's been a really special way to kind of revisit that side of my artistry, and I love performing with that team.
Yeah, well, it makes sense a lot with what you guys do at Recent Cutbacks, and I'm sure it's so nice to have a bit of practice in there and go do something fun where someone else is in charge and like you're getting to do all that physical work. And then you get to bring that back to Recent Cutbacks. I would assume that those go together really well. What led you to get into the directing side? If you started kind of as a physical performer and now you're more on the production end.
Truly, like I started directing when I was in college. We had to take like a directing class I was a theater major, but focus was on acting. And I really enjoyed it. And I had a professor who was kind of pushing me in that direction as well. And then I did a directing and dramaturgy internship the year after college at Portland Stage in Maine. And then I moved to New York being like, well, I do a little bit of everything. I don't quite know. And it just so happened that like a lot of my friends who were actors and performers were like looking for directors. And I was like, well, I can do it. I think I enjoyed the agency that came with directing. I felt like as an actor, especially as a young actor in New York, you're kind of at the mercy of whoever will cast you. And it's just being a director, I think, gave me the freedom to pursue more of my own projects. And I just kind of took a hard left into directing after a year or two of being in New York and didn't look back for like a decade.
Yeah. And then how did you guys form Recent Cutbacks? Like, how did you meet these people and then decide, hey, we want to do some physical theater?
The co-founders, myself and Nick and Kyle, we had all met in college. So we were in the same, we weren't the same year, but we all overlapped and so knew each other. Nick and I started working together a bunch after I got to New York, and we're experimenting with like comedy and some like physical theater-y stuff that we thought was really fun. And Hold On to Your Butts was like an idea that came up over beers one night. Him and another friend were just quoting Jurassic Park back to each other. And it went on for kind of a long time. And I remember being like, this is sort of like a two-man show. And that was the seed of the idea. We didn't have anything kind of fleshed out or written, but we decided to apply with that idea to Ars Nova's Ant Fest, which is like a pretty well-known, like you sort of do these one-night-only work-in-progress shows at Ars Nova. And they were like, no, thank you.
They turned you down?
A lot of people, I think, get turned down from that. So we decided, like, you know what? Let's just do it anyway. Let's do our own one night only. We'll just rent out. We had done a lot of work under St. Mark's in the East Village. And so we rented that theater out for a night and then just like built it over the course of a month. It was like a 45-seat theater, but we're like, we sold out.
100% you pimp that. Like, we sold out. In New York City.
Yeah, in New York City. I think that's the most scared we've ever been. You know, we were like, wow, we thought this would be really fun. Like, pre-show, we were like, this may be a terrible idea, you guys. Are we about to make fools of ourselves? But our friends seemed to really like it, and it just kind of kept building from there. So we weren't even officially a company until a year later, when we were like, we probably should formalize this a bit just for like administration and logistics. And we had a meeting where we decided on a name, and there you go.
And that was that. Well, and then what led you to do the shot for shot concept while you guys are drinking beers and reciting the movie? And like, was that first show really similar to what you have now?
Parts of it are similar. Parts of it are not. Like, the show has evolved a lot over, you know, it's an old show. So it's evolved a lot. And we definitely made some changes after that first one. I forget exactly where it all came from. I mean, like, some of it had to do with our backgrounds. Like, I had this background in like physical theater and clown, and Nick was really interested in like comedy and was like starting to get more into mime. He's also a member of Broken Box. And prior to Hold On to Your Butts, we were part of this group called Shots that did like these 7-minute plays, like 5 7-minute plays, right? Like every other month or something. And there's a lot of different variations of those in New York, but we were involved in that one at the time. And one of the ones that Nick and I created together was, I think we called it like Coming This November. And it was essentially like a live trailer for like the next season of Game of Thrones or whatever. So it was just like myself and Nick and like 3 other actors. And we were just sort of like making a boat with our bodies and then like turning into a dragon. And it was a lot of like crossfades and smash cuts. So we had started to kind of play with that cinematic language on that short project. And then we're kind of interested in continuing to explore it. And like, we didn't have any money at the time, so we just started looking around our apartment. And I think the first version of the T-Rex was like a Staples box that like cut a hole in it and then like cut some teeth and then like put it over the head. You know, I mean, it was really like, we were really just kind of like, what do we have? Let's see what we can make. And then it just grew from there.
Yeah, that is super, super fun. So as a director, because we haven't had a lot of directors on, and I think directing is so important. One of the hills I will like live and die on as a fringe artist, because some people will go into their own and I'm like, you need a director. This is so important in the process. So talk to me about your philosophy and like how you approach directing and working with your actors and devising as a director.
My background is in a lot of this like devising and ensemble based work. So I tend to prefer to kind of work with people who have strong ideas and are bringing something to the table. I don't consider myself like an auteur director. I'm more of a like, let's create something together kind of a director. So I like to be really responsive to like what the different artists in the room are bringing and then get very specific about how that all comes together. I'm very focused on like the audience experience. A lot of the work that I've done has tended to be more accessible. It's important for me that like if people are coming to see the show, they're able to understand what's happening and enjoy it to a certain extent. I'm not saying that's better. I'm just saying that tends to be like where I live in terms of really creating like clarity and joy. And that's like the ethos of Recent Cutbacks, I think, is kind of found in a lot of my other work where like we're very motivated by like a desire to inspire people and also like give them a joyful experience and to hopefully like make them feel welcome. We have this kind of like show the strings philosophy, which is sort of like everything that's happening is happening on stage with these actors. There are special effects, but you can see exactly how we're doing them. And it's with our bodies and our voices and maybe like something we found in our apartment. And like, I think for me, that's like the real theater magic. I also see and enjoy shows that have like a ton of spectacle and like effects that I'm like, wow, how did they do that? I do love that. But I think that like an audience's connection to the actors on stage is strengthened by like watching those actors actually do the work. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to like physical theater and character doubling, like getting to see somebody inhabit multiple roles within a show. It's a lot of play, and I think sometimes a lot of stupidity, like, let's be stupid, let's find something fun, combined with a lot of specificity and, like, really honoring, like, the artistry behind it. So this is where, like, me as a director and, like, Recent Cutbacks overlap is that, like, we like to have a lot of fun and make fun of ourselves, but, like, underneath it is some, like, real technique. Because it doesn't, if that's not there, it doesn't work. It has to be sharp, and hopefully it's impressive as well.
I would say all of the things that you just said are absolutely true and exactly what I saw when I saw Fly You Fools. It was so technically sharp, but yet really, really fun and playful. And one of the things that I loved about Fly You Fools, big Lord of the Rings fan, we are big fans at my house. And I saw it, I think, it's about 300 seat. Is that what it was at Pleasance last year?
Yeah, 299, yeah.
Someone snuck in. There were 300 people. I'm going to say it. And watching the show did feel accessible. It's like, you don't have to know the movie to enjoy it. I would agree with that. But if you do, it was like 300 people participating in this inside joke. Like, it was the most fascinating thing. I don't remember what joke it was, because you guys sometimes kind of make little commentaries that you know if you watch the film or you're familiar. And I remember just kind of like peeking around at the audience and everybody just giggling. And I'm like, we all know what they're talking about. This is so funny. And it's so beautiful to experience that live, right? If I was just watching it on a screen, I might not have that same experience, but it's like, we're all having this together. And it's I think one of the beautiful things about the work that you guys do. It's really, 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 really fun.
Thank you. I agree with you. Like, I'm a fan of all storytelling. I think theater and other like live communal art forms are particularly important right now. And it's been very interesting because like when we first started doing these shows, people really, they like them a lot. And our reviews were like, this is so hilarious. But we just did Butts Ran off Broadway at Soho Playhouse this winter. And like, we were getting these reviews that were sort of talking about like the meaningfulness of it. Like the tenor was like much more serious about like, it's kind of magic and amazing that you can like watch these people create a world using very little. And especially in this day where like we're overwhelmed by like CGI and AI, it just feels so special to like watch people make magic with a bicycle helmet and a traffic cone and like share in that experience with the people around you, which I think is kind of what you're alluding to. And that's always been there. I just think people are clocking it a little bit more because we've been through a pandemic. and there are these like kind of digital threats coming at us, I think people are a little bit more aware of how special that experience is.
Right. We want something that's real. And you're watching it, like you said, we see all the magic, right? We're watching all the magic happen. And it's astounding. And it reminds you of the beauty and the wonder of humanity and what it is that we can do. And it's meaningful. That's interesting because I was thinking just the comedy aspect of it being really meaningful right now. But you're right. Like looking at the digital landscape that we have and then to go see a show like yours and see how the sausage is made and just to delight in it is so much better than wondering, is that photo I'm seeing real?
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. So you tour the show, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes you'll have actors swap in and out. Is that correct?
Yeah, we didn't. It was really just like the original cast for a very long time. But in 2023, I believe, we went to Chicago and had our first like non-original cast. And we're like, okay, we can do this. And then Fringe 2024 was, we really started leaning into that. And then of course it went to the UK. We had our UK cast. So that felt like a huge experiment when it was like, okay, people who are not Nick and Kyle are going to play these two tracks. Does the show still work? And the answer is like resounding yes. And also like, it's been such a beautiful like growth opportunity for us to kind of figure out how to preserve the things about the show that really matter and that drive it and keep it on track. And then where we can adapt and play with, you know, new actors as they come in and let people do their thing and do what makes them special.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering what you were saying in your devising process. You're looking at who's in the room and what they're bringing to the table. And like, how does that translate when you bring a whole new group of people in? And were you there directing or was someone else directing it when you got this UK cast? Or how did that work?
Yeah, I went to the UK. I was there for about a month. We had kind of like a generous rehearsal process. It was kind of lovely. So I was there. Nick joined at the end. Nick has 2 kids, so he's a little less travel flexible than I am at the moment. But yeah, he joined, and then we were there for tech and previews and openings, so it was fab.
Right. And so were those actors able to add their own flair into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my brain's like, when are you going to publish this? How do you let go of it?
Yeah. I mean, what was cool too about the UK cast, it was a lot of people who had like mischief experience, you know, which is like the play that goes wrong and like all those. We auditioned a lot of people. We saw a lot of really amazing people, but then it was sort of like, we kept being like, ooh, that person has the great mix of like sharp physicality and like good character where, they've been through mischief. They were just all so wonderful. And what was really cool is that we've like learned more about this as we've performed at Fringe in the UK, but like the comedic sensibility can be slightly different. And so there would be some ideas that they would be like, we're going to try this. And Nick and I would be like, I don't get that. And then like they would do it in front of an audience and it would crush. And so there's that process of trust as well, where like there are certain things that we can be like, we can't really do that because like it's not quite the show. But then there's a lot of other things that an actor will be like, I think this is going to work. And we'll be like, okay, try it. And like, it will. And then we're like, great, we found something new, you know? So that's really fun.
That's really cool. Well, and how has taking your show to Fringe increased your visibility in your hometown of New York? Because it is like screaming into a void there. What has it done for you?
I think we're still like figuring that out is the honest answer. You know, we had, when Butts first came out and then with Fools, we weren't running like continuously, but we would put up these sort of ongoing weekly runs at the Pit, at the People's Improv Theater and their old space on East 24th Street. And those would pretty routinely sell out. And then like the pandemic, it's just like everything kind of stopped. And we stopped alongside everybody else for a couple of years. And when we came back and started performing in New York again, I think that we were like, oh, like the landscape of New York has changed. And like the audience has changed. Like some people have moved away. And then like a lot of new people have moved in who have never heard of us. And so our work has been like connecting with those newer audiences. And it's also like, you know, we started making these shows when we were in our 20s and now we're all in our 30s and up. So now, you know, it's like our sort of core demographic has also aged and like many of them have kids now. And so prior to Fringe, we never targeted young audiences in New York. It's just like in New York, it's a pretty hard split between like, this is theater for adults and theater for young audiences. And in the UK, it was just so much more, especially at Fringe, it was so much more fluid, where we had an 8 and up age guideline, but people were bringing in kids as young as 5 and they were loving it and they were great. And we started to realize like, oh, there's a real Because like I said, our work is accessible. It's also like it's rated G, you know. We don't necessarily make it for children, but we don't curse. Unless we're doing like a late night show that's for adults only. We don't curse. It's totally family friendly. So we started to lean into that audience a little bit more. And especially for this run of butts this winter at Soho Playhouse, we were doing mostly weekend matinees, and those were doing really, really well. A lot of adults at those too, but it was also like family-friendly time slots. We did a few shows of Kevin, which is our holiday Home Alone parody, in December at the Tank. And most of those were evening, but the one matinee we had just like completely sold out. We had people sitting on the stage. So the New York visibility has been us learning that we can embrace family-friendly while still having our like nighttime shows that are like adults only. It's just continuing to meet new people. And the other thing that I think is cool is that like we use Foley in all of our shows, live Foley, and like that Foley's like making a comeback. I don't know. People have always loved it, but I feel like more people are like, ooh, Foley. I know what that is, and I'm intrigued, you know? It's increased our visibility internationally a lot. Fringe has been really helpful in introducing us to places that have brought us out. Like we were brought out to Dubai early last winter. We've been to other places in America. We've done a lot of traveling. We've done a lot of shows. It's been really great momentum forward for the company.
Well, I love too that you are seeing that it can be for a broader audience. My kids are teenagers, and my kids aren't very teenagery. And I've talked to them about this show like multiple times. And I'm like, I want you to see it because it's smart, it's intelligent, and really fun, and something that my kids know all about. They know all about Jurassic Park. They know all about Lord of the Rings. I mean, Home Alone's, all of it. They know all of it. And I know that they would love it. And I always feel like at Fringe, it's like little bitty kids, and there's not a lot in between for some of those other ages. And it's just cool to be able to think like, oh, I could take my kids to this. And it's not a baby show. It's smart. And they get to be exposed to that. And it was really, really, really cool. Well, talk to me a little bit, just like Edinburgh, because everybody is always like, how do we do well at Edinburgh? And I don't want to make too many assumptions, but I mean, I saw a sold out show early run. I was there like the first week. So what is it like promoting your shows, building an audience, getting butts in seats, if you will?
The first year was it was scary. You know, we had committed to like a 250 seat venue. It's like, you don't normally do that your first year, but we were like, we know the show is good. Like, we know the show is good, and we know that people will like it. So we just have to like get our artwork in front of people and get them into the theater. And then once we do that, then it'll start to roll forward. So we leaned pretty hard into like outdoor advertising, the big posters that, you know, you see all around Fringe. We worked with a press team. We've worked with Mobius for the past 3 years, who are fabulous. And I think we had our iconic logo, our Hold On To Your Butts iconic artwork, and we were like, we're just going to lean real hard into this with the bright red background. And like, I think that worked quite well for us. A lot of the Fringe posters and advertising, you see, it's about the performer. And so they're on the poster. So it's a lot of faces, and they're beautiful and they're really cool. And we're like, you don't need to see our faces, just like red logo. So that worked quite well. And we've kind of continued with that theme. And we have the freedom to like invest a little bit more heavily in the marketing side of it because we have the potential to sell more tickets. Not to get all like financy about it, but like there is some math of like, because we're in a larger space, there's more pressure to sell those tickets. But if we can sell those tickets, then like the budget balances a little bit better. For us, we've really just like trusted in word of mouth. Like we've talked about, it seems like, you know, our shows are accessible, and word of mouth, once we can get people in, starts to kind of do its job. We had kind of wanted to go to Fringe for such a long time. Like we had a hunch that it would be like a cool space for us, but I think our work fits quite nicely there because it's funny, it's accessible, it all fits into a case. It's very fringy in spirit. We've been able to like really enjoy some fantastic audiences and success over there. And so, yeah, it's been great. But I'm always happy to like talk to people more specifically about like Fringe approach, whatever, because it is a behemoth. There's a lot to consider, and I completely understand.
Yeah. And well, that's great advice too. And knowing your show and that it can sell, and just knowing what type of show it is and what kind of space, all of that is really good. And again, a hill I will live and die on is good marketing. Of like good image, and you guys have that. It's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Kevin. It's a new show you're taking to Edinburgh, but it's not new for the company, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We've brought our shows to Fringe in the order that we created them. So it was Hold On to Your Butts first, Fly You Fool second, and Kevin third. Butts and Fools are very, like, they're different, but they're very complementary. Like, they're similar styles. One has 2 actors, one has 3. Kevin, we were like, we got to do something different. We got to do something new. And so Kevin is this, like, puppet explosion with live projections and a ton of miniature sets. It's like everything but the kitchen sink. It's way more stuff heavy than like any of our other shows, but it's all handmade, and it's still, all of the actors are making everything happen live on stage. So it basically, like, we start in kind of a miniature world where we have these miniature sets that are like loose recreations of like the McAllister house, but we've done it with like recycled materials. And then we have miniature people running around, and we're like doing all the camera zooms and like, you know, the shots live on a tabletop, and that's being filmed by 2 cameras on either side of the table, and then that's live projected. So you can watch the actors doing the thing live on stage, but then you can watch kind of the finished movie behind you. And then it scales up to where the puppets become larger. They start to inhabit real space more, so they're interacting more directly with like the audience in a live space. And we're still using some camera. We added, in December when we did the show, technology has advanced since we first built it. we added some live green screens, so we're able to have like Muppet-sized puppets and real people acting live against a miniature background and with miniatures at the same scale. So it's kind of like Blue's Clues, where you'll have like, you know, a live person talking to this miniature puppet, but because she's green screened in, they're the same size. It's like very, very fun. And then it eventually like scales up to where like everything is live and the cameras are following people around. And yeah, it's really, really fun.
That is so cool.
It's so wild. It's very different from the others. You know, every time we go to Fringe, we're like, people got to understand this is going to be different than what we did last year. But I'm excited for people to see it. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, different, but still that same concept of, you know, the films, we're doing shot by shot. We're in on the jokes. I'm assuming you throw one-liners in there that aren't in the film. But I mean, so that is still there. And now you're just experimenting with a new form. I mean, I can't imagine an audience coming and going, well, that wasn't like, you know what I mean? I think they would be like, dang, y'all stepped up your game.
That's the hope before people get too sick of us. You know, they're like, but wait, we also do puppets.
We're doing this other thing. I know. And you're like, where do you go from there? So how many people is it taking to put this show on?
This show has 5 people in it. So it's a cast of 5. So Butts was 3, Fools is 4, Kevin is 5. And so there's 4 kind of actor puppeteers and a Foley artist.
Who's doing the camera work?
The actors. I mean, the cameras are stationary for a lot of it. Like they're like stationary on the table, or they're like stationary at the green screen station. But at the end, when it starts to move, yeah, it's the actors are doing a lot.
That's cool. And do you have is the Foley artist running like the switchboard switching between the cameras, or?
Our tech will be doing that, but that's new. It used to be the actors were also doing that, and that got to be a little bit too much. You know, it became like a technology show, which it kind of is, but we want to let the actors have a little bit more freedom to like focus on the 7,000 other things they're doing. And when I say cameras, these are iPhones. Like this is all like pretty, like we have a projector and we have cords and, you know, we're running it through QLab, but it's iPhones.
Well, but that goes with the vein of you're like, here's some Amazon boxes we made into a set. And, you know, like it's very homegrown, but because you guys are so technical and you're very serious about, you don't take yourself seriously, but you take the work seriously, right? It works. I haven't seen it yet, and I know it works. It's like you can have that homegrown nature. And I love that the technology feels necessary. It's not like something you imposed, because you've got something small, and as you get bigger and bigger, it feels just really necessary. Because I don't like going to a show where it's like, why do you have all that technology? You don't need it. But this feels very, very necessary. Okay. The biggest question I have is, do you have a really good Catherine O'Hara wig or hair? It's so iconic.
That's a question. We don't have one now. We have a really great Catherine O'Hara impersonation from Natalie Rich. So get ready. It's clutch.
When you travel with that, are you going to, once you get to Edinburgh, will you remake everything? Or how do you travel with cardboard sets.
The design is a huge part of the show, and it's evolved a lot. So for this version, basically, like I remade everything for this version in December and made them so that basically all of the miniature sets can sort of compact down flat. So they fold up, we put clips on them or like attach them to a base, and then they come apart and fold back. So we'll travel. We're still figuring out, like, we'll probably have to pack them up really well, but we have like a bunch of Pelican cases, and we'll just travel with them. And then fingers crossed, you know how storage works at Fringe, but our hope is that we can keep most of our stuff set up and just shuffle it into the corner and then barricade it rather than like have to completely set up and break down everything every single day.
That would be a nightmare. And I would think the cardboard might get kind of flimsy, or maybe you've done a really good job of building it so it doesn't flex. But
that's actually one of the notes that I have for myself is like, how do we strengthen the weak points here? As much as you like super glue something, it's still gonna tear. So
it's still gonna be cardboard at the end of the day. Well, and I've already seen pictures from it. It looks absolutely delightful. I'm like, I want to go to Edinburgh just to see it. Maybe I need to come to New York. I don't know. These are the things that are going on in my head.
We have like a loose plan to do it in New York this coming holiday season, but we have no confirmed anything. But we're like, well, if we're going to do it for a whole month at Fringe, we got to do it at Christmas time.
Yeah, you might as well do it at home. It's going to sell really well. Okay, well, I've got my last question for you. It's my famous last question. What is your most interesting or awkward or heartwarming Fringe interaction that you've ever had?
I actually went to the Fringe in 2019, not with Recent Cutbacks. I was a hired director on another fabulous show that I loved. But it was a difficult flyer because it was an amazing show, but it like took a long time to explain what it was, which, as you know, when you're flyering, not good. And so, you know, I would be out there flyering and I was like, oh man, this isn't going great. From like a block away, this woman starts like running towards me. And like, she's like she looks so excited and she's like running towards me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe this woman like really wants a flyer for my show. And so I like take a flyer out and I'm like going to hand this flyer to her. And she gets close to me and stops and her face falls. And she's like, oh, I thought you were Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And I was like, no, girl, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, I can tell. She's like, I'll take a flyer though. And I was like, yeah, okay. She like took a flyer.
You're like, but please come to my show. You owe me a ticket for that interaction.
But it's like, because I used to have hair that was probably like not quite as long as yours, but a little bit more that like classic Phoebe Waller-Bridge length. And I did have a couple people be like, you kind of look like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but I just love that this woman was like, in 2019, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is out here like flyering shows.
That would be a nice service that she would do for people. I don't think she's doing. Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's so good. Well, Kristin, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been so much fun to talk shop with you.
Thank you, Lauren. It's always a delight. And I can't wait till our paths cross again in person soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Recent Cutbacks is headed to the Edinburgh Fringe 2026 with Fly You Fool and Kevin playing the whole run at the Pleasance Courtyard. And hold on to your butts. Only has 3 shows, August 12, and 19, and 26. So if you want to see that, get your tickets early. And please keep a look out on Recent Cutbacks website and their social media accounts to see when they have other shows that may be coming up between now and Edinburgh and in December, as we talked about. And if you're in New York, they will have a preview at the end of July for Fly You Fools and Kevin. And that's going to be at the Brooklyn Art House. You can learn more about Kristin and Recent Cutbacks on the websites at KristinMcCarthyParker.com and RecentCutbacks.com. And keep up with Kristin and Recent Cutbacks on socials, and keep up with Kristin on Instagram at Kristin McParker, and keep up with Recent Cutbacks on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Recent Cutbacks. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hantz. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renowned Media, and those sweet tunes you hear are provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound, and our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube, so please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release. Keep up with What the Fringe on Instagram at WhatTheFringe_productions, and find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. We all have those friends and family who zero understand what we do as a fringe artist. And you're trying to explain it to them and you're like, it's just the best thing in the world. The artists are so amazing. You have to come because
it just feels so special to watch people make magic with a bicycle helmet and a traffic cone.